Well, there's quite a few really helpful tools and innovations in this section of a job site, and we're now finally ready to start installing and cutting our pavers.
Yeah, you know, the basic installation is using your hands with the click and drop method, you know, pulling the paver against your field that you've laid already and then dropping it in place. You don't want to pinch the bedding layer between the two pavers because that's going to throw your spacing off.
But Jay, there are a lot of tools that are going to help us do this more effectively, and you know, maybe avoiding the click and drop altogether. Maybe we decide to go away from a hand-placed paver and we're using a different piece of equipment.
For sure. I mean, even if they are smaller pavers, but they're thicker, like an 8-centimeter paver, it gets very tiring. So maybe going to a machine installation is going to save your back, save some time, and save some labor.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of different vacuum equipment on the market these days. Two-man vacuum lifts, there's backpack vacuums, even one-handed vacuum suction lifts that you know, will really help you kind of place pavers a little bit more precisely.
Precisely, you know, dropping them flat into place rather than angling them in. That's a big advantage of using a vacuum.
Yep.
And you know what? Pavers aren't getting any smaller. Seems like the trend is for them to get bigger and bigger and bigger and heavier because concrete isn't light. You want to use maybe a vacuum, like a two-man vacuum. Then you got two guys lifting one piece instead of one, and again, being able to lay it flat down.
There's also equipment out there that lays multiple pavers at the same time, Jay. If you know, to kind of go to the other end of the spectrum, you know, there's commercial machines like an Optimus machine that lays by the layer, or there's a really cool machine that we introduced to the market a couple of years ago that can lay multiple pavers as well.
Yeah, the UniLyft. It's a really cool tool. It's versatile. It's got many different heads already in existence for different pavers that we sell. You can get a head developed for you if we don't have it in service and for sale right now. But yeah, it does the lifting for you. It's a machine that lifts pavers.
Yeah, I mean, we're not just talking about the suction helping ease the burden on your back. We're talking the suction and the hydraulics physically lifting up the paving.
It's basically just lifting a lever and it'll lift the paver up and then pushing down on that lever to place them down on the ground.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I know locally we're happy to provide you guys with a demo. I think, you know, if you need more information, if you'd like, you know, again, maybe a demo or to see some video or just to get some pricing and some more details on the unit, we really encourage you to reach out to your local territory manager, a contractor services representative, really anyone in the Unilock family. We'd be more than happy to get that information out to you.
And now that you're laying your field, you're going to get to a point where you have to stop laying pavers and you're going to need to cut them into place.
Absolutely.
So, you know, there's a lot of options for cutting. There's the old guillotine style.
Yep.
They're still around. They're still useful for cutting, you know, one piece at a time and straight. There are table saws. And again, you know, you're lifting or you're marking your piece, you're bringing it to your saw, cutting it, and then bringing it back and replacing it. One tool that's on virtually every job site is a quick cut. That's a concrete saw. This one here has got a nice 14-inch diamond blade, and what's advantageous about this is that you can cut in place. You can overbuild your field, chalk your line straight, and then cut it right in place. There's no more lifting of the pavers, bringing it to a saw, and then replacing it. So it's going to make you even more efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's even a mini version now for finer details, curved cuts, or, you know, just tighter areas to get into. So, you know, Jay, as you mentioned there, a chalk line or, you know, any kind of marking. We've seen guys use soapstone. I know here locally we have some red pencils that we like to hand out that really show up well on the stone. And, you know, just being able to make those cuts in place, it really helps get your alignment. And, you know, speaking of alignment, Jay, we kind of glossed over something a little bit, but you've got something behind you there, a string line, right? This is really simple tool, but it's really important. It's going to keep you nice and straight, especially if you're laying a very specific pattern, you know, a herringbone or a running bond. If you don't have nice, clean lines, it can really affect the overall look. This is a really, you know, simple, inexpensive tool that's really going to add a really nice finishing look to your project.
Right, and if you do run your string line and you notice that you've gone off course a little bit, we have a paver adjuster here. And this is a really great tool, allows you to stand up and then just do minor adjustments to move your pavers back into place.
And the portion of that tool that actually goes in between the pavers is much wider than, say, a Phillips head screwdriver or something like that. or
I think you mean a flathead.
A flathead screwdriver, yeah.
He's a sales guy.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Good enough, good
that's
enough.
great, yeah. A flathead
Screwdriver.
the tip of that thing's wider.
I just want to let you suffer right now.
I know. Would you?
Yeah,
Please?
so that blade on that is much wider. It's not going to chip the edge of your paver nearly as easily as the screwdriver would.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's a great tool.
Yeah, so Jay, we really want to kind of at this phase before we start to install our edging and our sanding, which is kind of where the project's going to end, take a final walk, be really, really selective at the pavers that are on site. This is probably the easiest time to replace a paver. So perhaps if the blending's not quite right, or if something maybe got stained during construction or isn't gonna make the cut, we've got a couple tools here to make really quick and easy lift and replacements.
Yeah, if you find a chip, or if you're walking through it with your homeowner and they're pointing out pavers that they maybe aren't happy with, or like the blending like you mentioned isn't great. Here's a paver lifter tool, and it basically works by scissor lifting, and these will go against the edge of the paver and pick it up and take it out and put a new piece in. It's really, really easy. These also come as a battery operated tool.
Yeah, so we kind of alluded to that when we were talking about, one-handed vacuum lifts and, a battery-operated tool. And we've got one actually behind you here, Jay.
You gonna demo it for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So nice and easy unit to use. We're gonna turn it on, just push button and get the suction, desired suction, let it really secure to the paver, lift it up, and away we go.
That's awesome.
So that really makes it nice and quick and easy just to make those quick adjustments, last minute repairs. Don't really need to worry about affecting our bedding or pinching that screed course in. And again, just something else to make you as quick and efficient as possible.
Yeah, without that, you're basically breaking the paver to try to pull it out.
Yeah. So Jay, at this point we're kind of almost ready to get to the last phase, but before we go there, let's talk about some of the tools that might differ if we're placing wall stones versus just laying pavers.
For sure. Building the base, a lot of that is in common with your pavers, but something you don't need to install pavers would be a caulking gun and concrete adhesive, because if you're doing small garden walls, you're going to want to glue course to course.
Absolutely.
Maybe
before you glue, you're going to want to make sure the surface, the top, between each course is really nice and clean. You don't want any pebbles or stone chip or dust in between. Could affect your adhesive. Could also, affect the nice level straightness of your wall and your nice clean lines, for sure.
And if you're going to go onto machine placed walls, you're going to need some sort of clamp. There's a machine placed wall clamp. It works on a similar principle to this device here, where you just unlock it and pick up, and as you pick up, it squeezes these wall units weigh, in excess of 400 or 500 pounds. So you attach it to your mini excavator, pick it up, and place it down.
Yeah, and a really good operator, this does take some practice, but a really good operator can, once the base course is in and the wall's nice and level, can really fly through placing these. Obviously, as you can see here, you have one individual in the machine and then another one down on the ground, just making sure that the wall stones are seated properly and are in good alignment. Then they're lowered down by the machine. The wall's, set into place. The clamp is released, and then you're onto your next stone. So again, provided the operator is, fairly skilled or fairly versed in doing this, once you have some experience, it can really make placing large wall stones, it can really make it fly.
A grinder with a cup wheel on the end, when you're finishing off your top row and you have to knock the key off, that's a good tool to help smooth it out so you get your coping nice and tight to the wall.
Yeah.
The UniLyft. We're talking about the UniLyft.
Yeah, no, I was just, you're taking the words right out of my mouth here. We've probably been presenting the other way too long that we're starting to share a brain a little bit here, but I was gonna say the same thing. We discussed the UniLyft as a paver placer, but depending on the different suction heads, as you mentioned, there's a variety of them. You can actually get heads that are specifically designed for some of our wall stones. So Again, just another way to kind of save your back and save some time and hopefully save some labor hours as well.
For sure.
Well, with that, Jay, we'd just like to thank everybody for joining us on this portion. Those are what we believe to be the coolest tools for placing and installing your pavers and wall stones. And, you know, again, we encourage you guys to go out and find what works best for you, but these are a few of our favorites.
Thank you.